Okay, class, we'll try this again. I seem to be having technical difficulties today. Today is day 9 of the PBL if I were in charge. So we are going to talk today about your presentations, how to do them, what the purpose of them is. So I'll start off with actually just first a reminder. Your bills were due yesterday at 4 o'clock. Submitting them in late is better than not submitting them at all, but they were due yesterday, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Your documents of the week, or in the case of honors, the portion of your essay, is due by the start of your class on Friday. Those are no credit if they're not in on time. Remember, documents of the week have to be in by the start of your class on Friday. Same thing for the essay portion, or no credit. But let's move forward and look at what our big objective is for the next few days. So, all along, the whole purpose of you researching and writing about this bill, it satisfies this goal of identifying facts to back up a concern or issue with one of these big topics. From this point on, because you've already come up with your bill, your law, we are now going to work on convincing your peers that the solution you have crafted is valid. In other words, the whole objective of the speech or slideshow, and you guys already selected that in the pre-planning guide, is to convince us to pass your bill. Okay. You've written this bill. Now you're just explaining to us, either in a slideshow or a speech, why your bill should be passed. You're not graded on whether or not it passes. You're graded on whether or not you fulfilled the rubric when trying to convince us. Because I don't want anyone to be punished for having a controversial idea. That's not the point. The point is, did you responsibly present your data? So if you remember, I showed you the PBL. We've already done the planning form. You just finished up your bill. This is the presentation part. So your presentation of your bill. By the way, there are only 4 of you doing this. 4 out of 108 are doing committee feedback. So I wouldn't worry about. I'll talk to those 4 independently. So you have until Tuesday at 4 p.m. to have your bill presented, and that can either be in the form of a PowerPoint or speech, which you already chose. Now, before I get into that rubric, I want to talk about a few common mistakes that you made in your bills that you don't need to correct in the bill form, but you want to make sure you correct when giving your speech so you don't end up missing something twice. The first thing is that all of you are writing national bills. You're all in the National Congress, meaning you may be from Georgia or you may be from Wyoming or you're from whatever state. That's fine, but your bill is actually going to be about the whole country. You're from Wyoming or you're from Georgia, but you're in the National Congress saying, "Hey, from my experience I've seen in Georgia, I want to pass this law for the United States." Some of you have been confused about that and are just passing laws for your particular state. That would be your state legislature. Remember, in federalism, there's national, state, and local. You're not at the state level. You represent your state at the federal level. So you're introducing big national laws. There are other suggestions. I tried to email back every single group some feedback about their bill, unless it was just so awesome, which there were a few where I just said, "Hey, this is great." Um, but if I made some suggestions to you, I'm trying to help you clean some things up so that you get the best grade possible on your presentation, even if you miss some points on your bill. Another common mistake people made was not having specific facts. They just said, "Oh, the drug rate or the uses of illegal drugs are really high in my state." Fun. That's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for like 20% higher than the rest of the country, or 13% of the population, or whatever stat number. You want to try to use statistics. But let's take a look at how you're going to present. So you have a rubric that was actually presented to you in your pre-planning topic approval form, okay? In that form, it said slides or speech, and then I gave you the rubric. Now, first off, if I'm giving you the rubric, make sure you know how I'm grading you. So you have 2 choices here. Either pause this and take a picture of it and write it down, that's fine. Or go to the PBL topic and approval form I kept that open. You still have access to that. Go to that form and take a peek at the rubric. Now you've chosen which one you're going to do. So you said at the bottom of this form, oh, I'm going to do the speech or I'm going to do the PowerPoint. Most of you chose the PowerPoint, but some of you did choose the speech, and that's fine. I'm grading those a little bit differently because they're different formats. So let me explain what this is going to look like. I'm going to start backwards here with the slides because that's what most of you are doing. I don't care if it is a Google slide. I don't care if it's a PowerPoint. As long as I see some format that shows me what we're looking for. The whole intent of the speech or the slide is to convince us that your bill is a good solution. That's the whole idea. You're presenting your bill. It's if you're a congressperson saying, here's this bill I wrote. I want it passed. Here's why it's awesome. Here's why it's good. It's just a persuasive speech or PowerPoint to convince us that we should vote for your bill, your solution. If that's going to be in a slideshow, you need a minimum of 4 slides because each slide would have to have a relevant fact. So you have to have a fact. You had 3 facts in your bill. Now, if your bill did not contain good facts, you want to make sure your slideshow, you make those corrections and make them good facts. And then you have to have a related persuasive visual. So I know that somebody talked about pesticides running off and polluting natural water. So if you had some data about, oh, this many millions of gallons of pesticides or whatever gets into our water, then a good visual to have on that same screen where you have that fact would be like the algae blooms that you see in Lake Erie. That is a persuasive visual that ties into that fact. Now, if you have something totally different like gun violence, then you might have a fact about how many people die at the hands of a particular type of gun, and then you're going to have some persuasive visual. Now, don't get too gruesome. I don't want blood and gore. Maybe you just have a pie chart that shows some data in a more interesting way. I just don't want just the facts. We want some sort of persuasive visual. And then you do that for your second fact, and you have another persuasive visual on another slide. Then you have another fact from your bill and another persuasive visual. And then here's a big one. You have a new fact. So I need a fourth fact, one that wasn't even in your bill, because you're always going to be adding to the argument of why your bill is important. And then I'm going to grade it on, was it persuasive overall? Did it have nice slide transitions? Did it have just the minimum number of 4 slides, or did you have like an intro and a conclusion slide? Um, and then once that slideshow's done, you're going to end up posting it in the classroom stream. Now, I'll get back to that in a little bit. But then once everybody has posted either their speech or their slideshow in the stream, you even get 5 points for making constructive comments about other people's presentations. That can be questions, that can be statements. It just some sort of interaction with 5 other presentations from your class. So for some of you, like I really worry about a couple class periods. If your class period doesn't have a total of 5 bills, you'll have to make multiple comments on one. That's only going to be allowed if you only have a couple bills. 6th and 7th, right now, things look real grim as far as the number of bills your class is going to have. We will see what happens. Third, first, you're all set. You're going to have plenty of bills to look at. And you give constructive comments on 5 of the presentations. Now, if you have the speech, you're going to have to record yourself giving the speech. Now, here's the advantage. If you mess it up, you can do just what I do when I'm teaching. You mess it up, you just don't use that recording. Just record it over. The first thing you're going to be graded on is your speech at least 2 minutes long. Now, 3 minutes for honors. That's worth 7 points. And so I'm going to look at your speech. By the way, I'm not giving you credit if there's like a 20-second gap where you're like, and you forgot what you were doing. I'm just not counting that 20 seconds. But essentially, if you're speaking the entire time and your speech is 2 minutes, you're going to get the 7 points. If it's less than that, it's a point deduction for every 15 seconds under 2 for non-honors and 3 for honors in minutes. Next thing, did you use 3 facts to back up that speech? 2 of them could have already been in your bill. 1 must be new, very similar to the slideshow. You're giving me these facts, real data as to why we should pass your bill. Professional conduct. Can you get through this without giggling, without laughing? And by the way, a lot of you are in groups of two that have been approved. If you're in a group of two, you can just, you really only, you could split that speech in half and have two sort of, combined recordings. And you want to explain the event well. You want to make it clear. This is what I'm asking for. Our state is asking for this bill to be passed. We want this bill to be passed because because of this thing and this thing about the coronavirus. So we've got to do this. And then eye contact. Now, normally this would be eye contact with your audience. In this case, I want to make sure you're looking up at the camera. I want to make sure you're not just staring at your, notes or whatever you're reading your speech off of. Got to make some contact with the camera to engage us a little bit. And then, just like the slideshow, you have to give constructive comments to 5 other presentations. So, again, the whole purpose of this is to basically persuade us, to convince us that the bill that you wrote is good and should get our votes. And then next week, we'll meet in Zooms and we will vote on these bills. Now, that actually will not have any bearing on your grade, the voting on your bills. So in other words, if you have a really unpopular bill, that's okay. That's fine. My primary interest is, did it garner a lot of discussion? So that's fine, but you've got to at least convince us that there's some logic to do what it is you're asking us to do. Now, there's a couple of you, not many. There's a couple of you who it's very unclear what you're asking for in your bill. Your law has to ask for a specific action. We've got one group that's saying we're going to change the drinking age to 18. Okay, that's real specific, and their law is real clear. We're going to change the drinking age to 18. Other groups have things that are like, less people need to die from coronavirus. It's very important, very noble, but that's not a law, that's a wish. So you have to come up with actions, a specific thing that you're asking for us to do in order to achieve that wish or goal that you have. So the more specific your law is, the easier it is to back up and present and convince us to vote for it. And there's no changing your main law now. You may, change a little bit of the wording or get a little bit more specific, but if you did all your research, you wrote your bill about coronavirus and you decide it's too complicated, you don't get to give a speech then about, I don't know, gun laws. No, you can make some changes, but you've got to stick with your topic. If you ask for gun laws, you said we should have less guns, and you realize, oh, that's not specific. And then you said, oh, we're going to ban the AR-15. That's an acceptable change that you could make in your presentation. But you can't say, oh man, this is too complicated, and then just go off on a whole nother law. Okay? So again, the Zooms on Thursday and Friday will be open to all classes. So if you're like, I am just so confused, no problem. Pop in and see me. They used to be specific to each class period. Now I'm just going to do them at 10 a.m. Anybody can jump in. And if you are not presentable by that time, you can do what most people do, which is not turn on the camera. I'll just see your name, and then I can hear your voice, and you can ask me the questions. So these presentations must be posted by 4 o'clock on Tuesday. So I'm giving you all day Thursday, all day Friday. If you need any time over the weekend, you have it, but you probably don't if you work on it Thursday and Friday. And then you have all day Tuesday until 4 o'clock to get these posted. On probably Friday, I will create a post here in your classroom. So this is 4th period, and I'll say something like, all presentations should be placed here. Okay, and then I'll create that post. And then what I'll do each day is I'll keep artificially moving it to the top of to the classroom stream. And you will just like you would post a comment underneath something, so you can see where I did this yesterday, you can add a comment right underneath. You will place your video of a speech or your PowerPoint or presentation. Now, if that fails, uh, you can just send it directly to me. But ideally, you post it there so other people can make comments on them. But again, if you run into some sort of technical difficulty, you can send it to my school Gmail and I will grade it from there. remember that you must be doing all of this work from your school Gmail, or our system doesn't believe that it should be allowed, and then it gets lost in the internet world. So I hope this makes sense. You're creating a PowerPoint or speech to explain why your bill should be passed. I'm grading that PowerPoint or speech based on that rubric that is both here and in the PBL topic approval form you still have access to. And then when you are done with that speech or PowerPoint, you are going to post it where in the Google Classroom stream under where I say, please post these here. I haven't done that yet because I don't expect any to be completed yet. I will create that posting on Friday, and you will just post all of your presentations under there, and we can start arguing with each other about why yours is great or terrible or whatever it is. Okay, so you know how I'm going to grade it, you know when I'm going to grade it. Because the district has decided that there will be no more new assignments after Friday, May 29th, I believe. This is really the end run here. We've got to get this done, and then non-honors, you're going to have a makeup document of the week next week, and then that's it. Honors, you have the third body paragraph of your essay and this presentation, and that's it. So it's going to come up on you fast. Make sure you keep up. Feel free to contact me with any questions. We'll set up a Zoom. You can ask and get answered specific questions. Okay. There will there will be a Fun Day Friday tomorrow video, and I'll have a few reminders for you, and of course the last document of the week passes of the year, which you can use either for honors, that paragraph, or a non-honors, a makeup document of the week. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a great uh, day, and make sure you stay safe out there. All right, have a good day, everybody.